Please click like and subscribe and that little notification bell for the next episode. And this is the Wallace House. Inside they got old stuff to look at, and they got an old attic you could go through, which is fun.
Right. Was a cool museum.
It's like from the Historical Society kind of place.
Yes.
This is it, right here. Oh my gosh. And it went on, it goes on like this.
No
And
kidding.
it's a bustle, you know.
A bustle.
Make their rear end bigger. Like who wants that these days?
So times sure have changed.
Yes.
haven't
That was part of it too. That
Interesting.
passing from the other way.
they? Wilbur Vaughn was the photographer who took the Bette Davis shot
Yes.
back in the day. We're sitting with Wilbur Vaughn right now. Wilbur Vaughn has a very interesting story that he had a little drama on the streets of Cuba. Wow, what year was that?
1948. Bette Davis paid a visit to our hometown here in Cuba, and she stayed over at the Southern Hotel. And I received a call from the proprietor of the Southern Hotel, and I went in and asked where she was sitting in the restaurant. I went over and I asked her if I could take her picture, and she didn't say a word. She just kept right on eating. The gentleman with her, I think, was William Sherry. She was married to him at the time. And he looked up at me and said, "No, absolutely not." So I left. I went into part of the restaurant and talked to the proprietor. And I said, "I'm going to take the picture anyway, because it's cold, it's been raining, I'm not going to make the trip for nothing." And she said, no, don't take the picture inside the restaurant. So I went outside and I waited, and finally they came out. And I snapped the picture. And then I heard some of the awfulest cuss words that you ever heard in your life. Right at the end, he said, "When I catch you, I'm going to kill you." Well, at age 19, I knew I was too young to die at that time, so I took off running, and he was right behind me. And I went in between the grocery store and what they call at the time Hoyt's Tavern. And up on the old 66, there was on the corner, there was a filling station. And behind this filling station is a bunch of tires. Well, I knew they were there, so I jumped over the tires, and he didn't. He slipped and fell on the tires and fell over in the mud. Well, that's the story. I had this camera. This is the camera that I used, but it had a flash on it at the time.
I want to thank you very much for telling us that story. I want to stay at the very famous Wagon Wheel Motel.
That's right.
We're with Connie in the Wagon Wheel Motel. It's an iconic stop here on Route 66.
This building was originally the cafe in 1934, and it had like ceilings all the way down to those lower beams.
This is the original floor and the fireplace. A lady named Sadie ran it for a while, and she was quite notorious, kept everybody on their toes from what I hear. This was the gas station building, and it was covered over for like, I'd say 50 years. They had covered it over and built a building that come along this edge, covered over the pit. This was the regional oil changing pit here, where they changed the oil on all the cars and stuff. Now this room here was where the original old office was. Some of the rooms in the back here were originally garages, and during the war they changed them over to rooms because they weren't big enough to hold the bigger cars. They would only hold the Model Ts.
Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, that's what Jane calls it. And we tried to keep the baths in the original footprint, so we have the original size doors, and we put a little bigger shower in.
Well, they said they found some cards where a guy named Frankenstein stayed here for years.
I like it. It's the Frankenstein room.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to call it.
The 4 rooms on this end of the building were added on later, so they're a totally different style than some of the other rooms.
Thank you, Connie, for showing us those rooms and all that the Wagon Wheel has to offer to a tourist. In Cuba, you're going to go on a whole tour of their murals.
The Paul car was built in 1932. The Wallace family owned this, and it was their first mobile station, and then it was also their first home of their company. This is our 12th mural. On the first panel, you will see Bill's interest in the State Highway Patrol. These are the 3 bays that are on the mobile station that was bought by Bill Wallace in the center mural, and he was the owner of the mobile stations. On the third panel, it shows Bill's involvement with kids. It shows his 4 children. In 2008, we had a lady from St. Louis do these traffic control boxes. And it's called Waiting for the Train because we have a 1873 replica of a train in the park. On one side, you'll see the back of the lady and the little girl, and on the other side, you'll see her front.